Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David, how are you doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
I'm all right. A little shaken up. I caught the beginning of that great big fire here in St. Albert tonight. That we were out on St. Albert Road, and the uh, fire trucks were pulling up left and right, and there was smoke pouring out of the top of this big seniors complex just in the north end of town in Erin Ridge, and it looked like it was getting worse. And then a little while later, my wife showed me a photograph from it, and the fire had breached through the roof, and it was just a full-on blaze of huge condominium project. Had to be hundreds of units in there, I think, of the whole thing. I don't know how much of it will be damaged, but it will be extensive and expensive, and bigger worries about the health and safety of the residents. So that kind of
Terrible.
threw my day in the wrong direction in a quick hurry. Guess there's a
And
big
there,
fire out in Parkland County too. The winds are high and it's dry, and it's
yeah,
spring, and it's the same time of year as Slave Lake and Fort McMurray. This time of year scares me.
yeah.
So
We could
don't
use a
like
rainfall.
high winds. We need a big rain.
Yeah. So, Bruce, Oilers lost 6-3 tonight to the
Mm,
Vancouver Canucks.
minor issue. Minor issue.
Yeah. Um, it actually was a minor issue. Let's just get right at it. Let's plow through this podcast, Bruce. Kind
Okay.
of a nothing game, so we won't mail it in, but we'll probably keep it fairly short tonight. Two good things, two bad things, and two numbers. We might go with two good things, two bad things each if we can think of them. There is
Okay.
no shortage of them.
Yeah.
What's your good thing?
Yeah. My good thing is that this game is absolutely meaningless. And in many senses, it's like a preseason game, where you're trying to get your team ready for the start of the season. The Oilers are now at that stage where they're trying to get their team ready for the playoffs. And obviously, how they play tonight is not the readiness that they have in mind. But this is time for experimenting and learning a few things. And Dave Tippett probably saw a few things that he might learn off of tonight's game. But I guess that, the big picture good thing is that the Oilers have got themselves in such a comfortable position that a win or a loss in this game or that game is not life or death. And this game obviously got away on them very early, and they did push back, and they got a lot of pucks on net, and they amped up the physicality a little bit. There was a little bit of bad blood in this game, but they just couldn't get it together. But it just don't matter, that they didn't get the 2 points tonight. They're going to finish more than 2 points out of first and more than 2 points ahead of third, and it's just one that got away. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it.
Bruce, my good thing will be 3 points for Connor McDavid.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as the game went on, that became the main plot for most Oilers fans is how many points is he going to get? And he really came alive in this game as it went along. He was jumping, and the Oilers got angry in this game, mainly because of some of the antics of the Canucks, or they just played the Canucks three. This is their third game against this team. Maybe both teams hate each other, with a little bit of good reason for back and forth, questionable if he plays, or just hard hits, whatever you want to call them. The hit on Chiasson early in the game, I thought was a pretty questionable hit. It kind of ignited things tonight.
The headshot?
Center, it was in the middle of the ice,
Yeah.
yeah, and he really didn't have the puck. I think though, it was interesting. I saw them in the penalty box, Hamonic and Chiasson, and I can't read their lips, but it looked to me like Hamonic was explaining what he did and maybe apologizing, and Chiasson accepting it. Chiasson got calmer and was nodding his head in agreement. I think you could see that, but maybe I misread that entirely. But that's what it looked like to me happened there. Who
Two,
knows?
two honest veterans, David, and I
Yeah,
they
yeah,
certainly had a disagreement that manifested itself quickly when Chason got hit basically very high, close to the head in open ice, and he responded by going after Hamonic. It wasn't really much of a fight, but I can understand, they would be sort of explaining how the play was from each other's point of view, and maybe they did come to an agreement. Well, this is what happened. It was, you know, partly an accident, or he didn't mean to do it, or what have you. Anyway, um, Chason did look like he'd cooled down a little bit. He sure was a little ticked at first, though, eh?
Well, he's worried about worried about being injured on a play like that, and
Of
quite
course.
rightly. So McDavid has 96 points now in 52 games. Bruce, he needs
Mhm.
only 4 points in 4 games. What do you think? Is that possible? Can he get that to get to 100?
4 points in 4 games. It
Yeah,
seems doable,
seems
doesn't it?
possible. Yeah, within the realm. What's
He's got
your
33 in his last 13 games now. That's more
that's
than a
it.
point a game by my math, and he only needs a point a game the rest of the way. So 33 and 13 games. I mean, that's Gretzky territory, 2.5 points a game.
Is it 2 more games against Vancouver and 2 against Calgary? Or
Yes,
2 against Montreal?
two
Yeah.
against Montreal. They
Okay.
play Vancouver here this Saturday and next Saturday. In between times, they fly down to Montreal to make up the
Okay.
last two of that 3 game set that got canceled that caused all this grief in the first place.
Uh, what's your bad thing? First bad thing.
Oh man, well, it's pretty hard not to point the finger at Mikko Koskinen tonight. Uh, they were saying on the broadcast, and I earlier said the same thing. I can't remember if I've ever seen a goalie come and face 4 shots and make no saves. I've seen three, certainly seen two many times. 4 shots, 4 goals against. And after the fourth one, he blew his top. He knew he'd have had a bad night, and he certainly had a little outburst there on the stick and the goalpost and everything. And if Dave Tippett wasn't already 3/4 of the way to pulling him, a sight of calm, cool, collected Mikko Koskinen having a meltdown like that probably prompted him to get him the hell out of there, because the third and fourth goals in particular were stoppable shots. Third one hit him in the blocker and popped up in the air and came down in the net. I don't know how the heck that one got away on. It looked like he got a good solid piece of blocker on it, and it just had a magnet for the net. And then the fourth one was off his sloppy play in the middle of the slot, and there's just a quick shot that basically went right through him. And to be honest, he didn't have a lot of defensive support. The first goal, 30 seconds in, second game in a row, that Vancouver scored right off the top. And that one I wouldn't put on the goalie, but I would put it on the sloppy coverage that let Nils Hoglander, was it, come in and make a
Yeah.
real good
Yeah.
shot. But things just went sideways from there, and I say Koskinen comes away with a save percentage of .000, and that is not. I wonder if Kurt will give him a 1. I think he has to. Like, he didn't make any saves. If he had one stop, maybe you could say, well,
That's true,
I,
Bruce.
I
But
would give I would
you're
give
kind
him a
of
1.
wondering,
I wouldn't have a choice.
if you want to be charitable, you have no real choice on the matter. Yeah,
Yeah.
what can you do? What can you? You're not left with anything except for you try to again, like there's just you might want to have some pity for the guy. I mean, yeah, the 3 meter man broke 2 meters of goalie stick there. He's such a cool
Yeah.
customer.
Yeah. It
I
was it was
I don't
shocking
think
to see, really,
I've
wasn't it?
seen much emotion. Like you can see sometimes he gets frustrated a little bit. Like and he seems such a nice, even tempered, kind of
Yeah.
gentle giant of a person. I
Mm.
I kind of like him, his demeanor. But man, I don't know if like was he probably did that before Tippett pulled him, eh? Like
Oh
the,
yeah. Well,
I
yeah.
think it was the goal. It wasn't being pulled. That precipitated that, was it? So
No,
I,
no, he was mad after the goal, and I think Tippett probably would have pulled him at that point anyway. I kind of thought he might after the third goal,
yeah,
but after the fourth one, he almost had no choice. And certainly, if he was mulling it over, and once he saw Koskinen having the meltdown, it was pretty clear it was time to get him the heck out of there. And
yeah.
It was kind of shocking to see. Like you say, Koskinen's a pretty cool customer, but tonight he just did not have it. And what would be frustrating from his perspective is that basically he hasn't played, you know, two starts out of three, which he got, right? He played Monday, he won that game, played again on Thursday. Usually he's waiting like 10, 14 days between starts, the way that Tippett's been leaning on Smith so hard. And here he finally got a chance to play a second game in a few days apart after the first one.
Yeah.
And it did not go well.
I didn't disagree with him being pulled, especially after he gets like he's just so frustrated. But my bad thing is him being pulled. Um, it's it's a nothing game. Smith needs the rest. Just bad. I'm not saying it's a bad decision by Tippett. It's just a bad circumstance for the Oilers to have that happen, where the goalie who needs rest. Maybe Koskinen can now come back and play. Is it Saturday's
I'd
game?
start him Saturday,
Yeah,
frankly.
get him right
Another
back
nothing game.
and get Smith the rest that he should have. Like I just think keep Smith is just playing every second game at most. So put Koskinen in net and have Smith play Montreal in the first game. So yeah, that's my bad thing. What's your second bad thing, Bruce?
Yeah, I'm going to single out Dmitry Kulikov just for too many casual turnovers of the puck,
Mm-hmm.
and his puck management is giving me the jitters. I mean, I like him fine without the puck, but I thought he'd be better moving it, and he's had some good moments moving it, but he's just having too many turnover issues, and I think we dinged him on as one of his turnovers leading to a goal and another defensive error on another goal, and it just wasn't a real strong night for him.
Yeah, there's some issues with him and his puck handling, and we'll see if they continue. I mean, Tippett's taken this all in, and he has, of course, the reliable veteran Chris Russell, who's getting some probably well-needed R&R here to heal his body up after another rough season at age 34.
Yeah.
So it's great to have Kulikov. It's good to see what he can do, and it's been kind of up and down. Um, Fairly strong defensively. Tonight was one of the first times he's made a mistake where it wasn't a turnover. Tonight he failed to
Right.
cover that guy on the slot on the fourth goal. Didn't get
Mhm.
out there fast enough. But the first one was a turnover and led to chaos and a goal. And that was, that second goal getting down 2-0 that early in the game on a turnover like that was not great for the Oilers. And that was on Kulikov. Bruce, my second bad thing is the only real offense to speak of I'm going to suggest that the Oilers got was from the top players tonight. And the second, third, and fourth lines, I know some of them might look good on terms of their shots for and against, that kind of thing, but they didn't really manufacture that many grade A chances. I think Chason got one. Um, Yamamoto got one. But he was on the ice with McDavid at the time. McDavid led a breakout, and Yamamoto got one. And so all the other ones, pretty much, as far as I can see here, just going over our list, were created by the top line guys at even strength and on the power play. Just not good enough from those lines to win this game, to come back in this game, which was very doable when they were down 4-2. I mean, you could hope that the power play would keep cashing in and do it for the Oilers, but you can't count on that every game. And these other players have got to find a way to score now and then. They didn't tonight. They didn't really threaten to score that much. And whereas McDavid was intense all game long and pushing. I don't think I necessarily saw that same kind of intensity from some of the players on the second, third, and fourth lines. I mean, you could just say, well, McDavid has so much more skill and they lack that. But I also do think there was some bite lacking in their games.
They can't just be leaning on the first line for everything. I mean, it's it's getting more and more that way. I mean, um, um, McDavid has been in now on, oh boy, what is it? 32 of their last 43 goals. It's like 75% or something like that. It's ridiculous. Like it's 50% is sort of almost at the extreme. You don't often see more than 50%, but McDavid has taken it to they're not doing much unless he's involved in it. And I guess is the downside issue, and they're going to need to do better than that because you know David's going to get a lot of attention in the playoffs. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think I don't know. They might run it. They might want to try the RNH line against Montreal if they want to see if that line can function against a really strong checking team. I don't honestly. If I was a betting man, I would say no, that's not going to happen. And I think they should just get back to splitting the top two up and trying some different combinations out for the rest of the year with McDavid and Draisaitl on different lines. I mean, Puljujarvi is showing himself to be a very capable line mate at this point for Connor McDavid. And it might be a vote of confidence in some ways to make him the main winger on that line, the main shooting option, passing option for McDavid. But we'll see what happens in that regard. What is your number, Bruce?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the number 44. I'm just kind of pulling this out of the air, but this is power play goals scored by Leon Draisaitl over the course of the last 3 seasons. And with the one that he scored tonight, his 12th of the current season, which is just one off the NHL lead. And over the last 3 seasons now, 44 power play goals, the number 1 power play sniper in the NHL, 1 ahead of David Pastrnak, 4 ahead of Alex Ovechkin, 5 ahead of Steven Stamkos. I mean, we're talking major snipers everywhere. And Leon is such a weapon on the power play, and he's got such a lethal shot that's almost always on the net, and has a lot of power and accuracy, and just such a great quick release that the goalies can't get set for it. And that's what we saw again tonight. He's just such a lethal finisher, and for such a great passer to also be such a lethal finisher. I mean, it's such a joy to have sort of a running mate. He's not even the top star on the team as it's constructed. He's just the MVP. I mean, the wealth of riches that Oilers and Oilers fans have with these 2 top level offensive gunners is we should never lose sight of how good we have it. And we get snarky here and there when they get beat on this play or that play, but boy, they just keep on producing. And Leon, after scoring just 2 goals in the previous 10 games, I just did a segment review, and it was very rare for him. He only had 2 games in between games 41 and 50, 2 goals. He had a hat-trick in game number 40, previous segment. Now he started off game 51, 2 goals, game 52, 2 goals, and he's immediately kind of made up whatever little deficit he had from that little slide. He just doesn't stay cold for long. And when he warms up again, he scores in bunches.
Yeah, that shot, especially the second one, that one time.
That was actually even strength, yeah.
Was it? He should have a black hood over his head, man, because that's the executioner shot. It's like he's got the goalie's head on the block and he's just coming down with a hatchet on those shots, Bruce. Like it's the executioner move. And what a shooter. We have seen a shooter like this once before in Edmonton and in Yari Curry. But imagine this, we're seeing it again. And with a setup man who's the greatest man and greatest player in hockey setting him up. So
Yari Curry had that also. And
he did, exactly. So Bruce, my number is it's on Puljujarvi scored a beautiful goal tonight.
Wow.
Absolutely, and this is the second time.
Shot.
The second time in the last little while. Again, another executioner shot. Just the seam, the low-high seam pass, and bam in the net on the one-timer. And he can do that. He's got to work on it. But it's nice to see that shot in his repertoire. And if he can bring it out more and more, that bodes well for him. And my number, Bruce, is related to that goal. It was his 14th goal, and every time he scores, he sets a new high. His old high was 12. He has 14 goals in 51 games. And the interesting thing is that throughout his career, Jesse Puljujarvi has compared unfavorably and very unfavorably at times to the players drafted just around him. His old line mate on the Finnish junior team, Patrick Laine, Pierre-Luc Dubois, who leapt ahead of the draft order, to many people's surprise when Columbus took him over Puljujarvi, kind of upset the Oilers' plans at that moment. They were going to take Mikhail Sergachev, I believe, and Matthew Tkachuk, who Flames fans who have forever lorded it over fans that the Oilers took Puljujarvi and the Flames got Tkachuk. Well, Bruce, Puljujarvi has 14 goals in 51 games this year. Patrick Laine has 12 goals in 42 games. Pierre-Luc Dubois has 9 goals in 42 games, and Matthew Tkachuk has 10 goals in 51 games. Now, you could say, well, Puljujarvi's playing with McDavid all the time, the greatest player in the game, and you'd expect that. And that's a fair comment. That is a valid point. I'm going to suggest he's getting less power play time than at least Laine and Tkachuk. I don't know about Dubois. He might not be on the top power play, but way less power play time than those other guys. And they also play with good line mates, all of those guys. It's not like they're with chalk liver out there on the fourth line. They're on either the first or second line of their teams. So that is a dramatic turn of events. How many people, Bruce, if would have taken the bet that this season Jesse Puljujarvi would outscore all three of Patrick Laine, Pierre-Luc Dubois, and Matthew Tkachuk? No one, not even some of Puljujarvi's Finnish fans that we converse with on Twitter. Valkyrie and Mary Longborg, I think, are the two that come to mind. I don't even know if they wouldn't. Who would take that bet? But he's done it. He's doing it. Congratulations, Jesse.
Two pretty sharp observers of hockey also. But yeah, we'll leave the name of Austin Matthews out of that conversation.
Yes, we will. But he's never been compared to that. So.
And we'll also leave out the name of Alex DeBrincat, who was also picked in that draft, 39th overall, like a round after all these other guys, and he's well over 20 now. But
anyone could have had him. No, really. I mean, every team had a chance to draft DeBrincat. He wasn't in the conversation at the top.
Yeah, but anyway, of the 2016 draft, if you talk about snipers, I think you have to start with Matthews and DeBrincat, and then bring in these other. Well, Laine obviously is in the conversation, but he's, I think, sort of gone sideways for him this year. Getting traded to Tortorella's team was not exactly the break his career was looking for. Let's put it that way. But yeah, Jesse's up to 14, 10 assists, 24 points, plus 7. All but 2 of his goals at even strength. So when it comes to even strength goals, he's 4th on the team behind McDavid, Draisaitl, Nurse, and then JP. So that first round talent, man, that's where your goals come from, eh? Certainly on this team.
Yeah, and what a huge. We both know from following hockey for a long time that when a team gets a draft pick in the top 5, top 3 especially, or I guess Puljujarvi was 4th, but when you get a high pick like that, you've got to hit on it. You can't. It just sets your franchise back. Even one with as many top picks as the Oilers, it sets your franchise back considerably, like the Yakupov draft pick did, and those things just they hurt you for years, and they keep you hurting. So for him to make good on his promise, I mean, when you start to look at their last draft picks, Bruce, I mean, Holloway, Broberry, they're untold stories, but I'm going to suggest both of them are trending in the right direction. Bouchard trending in the right direction, and then before that, you have Yamamoto, Puljujarvi, McDavid, Draisaitl, and Nurse. So, Craig McTavish's drafting of Draisaitl and Nurse, just monumental for the franchise. Yeah. And, not the first overall picks, but high picks, nailed them. And now these other guys, they seem to be all coming around. They all look like players to me so far. So the future could be bright, Bruce. Brighter.
Well, it's frightening all the time. And I mean, to throw out a result from tonight, I mean, going into tonight's game, they won 2, lost one. 1-2, lost one. 1-2, lost one. 1-3 now, lost one. I mean, they're consistently putting together these short winning streaks, and they seem to always stop the losing streaks at one game. Like I wrote about today, they've had since end of January, they've only had 2 times where they've lost more than one game in a row in over 3 months. And they just put out the fire after the first loss. They bounce back to the win, and then typically they'll put another win or two on top of that. So this year they've had 6 winning streaks of 3 games or longer, and 1 losing streak of 3 games. Of course, everybody remembers that 3-game sweep by Toronto, but that was the only 3-game losing streak of the entire season for the Oilers. So they've this is a sign of a strong team that when they do have a bad performance, and they did tonight, they're very likely to come back with a strong showing in the very next game.
Alrighty, we'll talk then, Bruce. Next game Saturday night against Vancouver.
Vancouver Canucks. I can't wait to see them.
Neither can I.
I'm sure lots of things will change between. When was the last time that? Oh, right, tonight. Yeah. Anyway, this is definitely the slogging time of the season. It's all makeup games. Really, tonight was the first of 5 makeup games against Vancouver and Montreal that close out the season. And fortunately, they don't mean a whole lot, but that's a double-edged sword. Like you'd like to see some meaningful hockey. You don't want to get too many bad habits, but at least they probably got a couple of those bad habits out in the open tonight that Coach Tippett can go to work on them.
Yeah, I see some of the teams, some of the playoff teams, unfortunately, are going to be a little bit more rested, although by the time they would ever face the Oilers, like Pittsburgh's played 55 games. Toronto, but it's pretty good in the Canadian at least. Toronto, Montreal played 53 each, and Winnipeg and Edmonton 52. And the good news tonight, Bruce, Montreal lost, so that was Winnipeg now is 2 points ahead with a game in hand, and they have some games, I understand, against the Canucks coming up. So we'll see how that goes.
And Winnipeg's got the tiebreaker also, so Montreal has to pass them, and I now suddenly seems unlikely that Montreal
less.
It looked likely for a while that Winnipeg was just going to crash and burn right out of third place, but this last couple of days has really turned that around.
And I'm not underestimating the Jets. They can beat the Oilers. Every series in the Canadian, I think, is a pretty much a coin flip. And I say that about Montreal. I give them their due, even though they have 24 wins and 29 losses, if you include their overtime losses, and they're -6 on goal differential. But it's just going to be a bugger to play those guys, Bruce, because that's a big, physical, nasty, dirty team. And in the playoffs, whoever gets them in the first round, I just hope it's not the Oilers. So the Jets are equally capable of beating the Oilers as Montreal is. But when you're done with the Jets, I don't think it's going to be quite the black and blue series that we're going to see with whoever plays the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, well, Montreal got in the headlines the very first game of the season when they were laying the lumber on Austin Matthews there in Toronto. And Toronto was complaining, and with justification, about the treatment Matthews was getting. He was getting cross-checked by, I think it was Sherratt that was doing the number on him. And, of course, we saw the same thing last game here when Shea Weber had free reign to lay as many cross-checks as possible on Leon Draisaitl, and it was the same thing. And we were kind of bitter that night, and again, with some justification. They play a rough style. They got a lot of veterans that know how to work the referees, and they know how to work the situations. They certainly know how to work the lumber.
They got more lumber than totem. All right, Bruce, thanks for talking tonight.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.